You ever look at your bank account on a random Tuesday night and think, I mean, I'm young. I've got time, right? You tell yourself you'll get serious about money later. After the trips, after the random Uber Eats phase, after you upgrade your phone, after you figure things out. Meanwhile, you're 23 or 26 or 29, and your savings is basically a polite suggestion. I've had that exact spiral more times than I'd like to admit, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, about behavior, and about why some people use their 20s to quietly build a foundation while others blink and suddenly they're 35, wondering where the momentum went. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no one really says out loud. Your 20s are not for coasting. They're leverage. And if you use them intentionally, not perfectly, not obsessively, but intentionally, you can build your first $100,000 way faster than you think. And once you hit $100,000, everything changes, not just financially, psychologically. So let's talk about how to stop drifting through your 20s and actually build something real. First, let's get honest about what wasting your 20s actually means. It doesn't mean traveling. It doesn't mean having fun. It doesn't mean making mistakes. That's part of life. Honestly, you should make some mistakes. Wasting your 20s is something quieter. It's living in autopilot. It's making decent money, but not knowing where it goes. It's upgrading your lifestyle every time your paycheck grows. It's assuming time will always be on your side. Here's the reality. Money invested at 25 is a completely different animal than money invested at 35. Let me break it down simply. If you invest $10,000 at 25 and it grows at 8% annually, by 65, that single investment becomes roughly $217,000. Invest that same $10,000 at 35, it grows to around $100,000, same amount of money, 10-year difference. Time is not linear in wealth building, it's exponential. Your 20s are the multiplier phase. Why does this matter to you right now? Because $100,000 isn't just a number, it's a tipping point. The first $100,000 is brutally hard. After that, compounding starts doing more of the heavy lifting. So how do you actually build it? Let's start with something most people ignore. You need a savings rate, not just a goal. Everyone says, I want $100,000. Cool. How? Wishing for $100,000 is like wishing for abs without tracking calories. Vibes don't build wealth. When I was 24, I thought making more money would fix everything. So I focused only on income. But every raise somehow disappeared into better apartments, nicer dinners, small upgrades that felt harmless. It wasn't until I picked a target savings rate, 40% at one point, that things shifted, not because I suddenly became a monk, but because constraints forced clarity. If you make $60,000 and save 40%, that's $24,000 per year. In 4 years, without counting growth, you're near $100,000. Even at 30%, you're building serious momentum. Why this matters? High savings rates in your 20s create optionality in your 30s. Action step, pick a percentage today, not later. 20%, 30%, 40%. Automate it. Build your life around what's left. Now, let's talk about income. Because yes, cutting expenses matters. But in your 20s, income growth is rocket fuel. Your earning potential is probably the lowest it will ever be. That sounds harsh. It's actually exciting because your upside is massive. Most people treat their 20s like a waiting room. They clock in, clock out, scroll, repeat. But this decade is skill building season. What skills are you stacking? Communication, sales, coding, design, management? The difference between someone making $50,000 and someone making $120,000 by 30 is often skill acquisition, not luck. I had a friend who spent 2 years after work learning digital marketing. Not glamorous, no applause, just YouTube tutorials and freelance projects. By 29, he doubled his income. That accelerated everything. Building $100,000 fast requires attacking income aggressively. Action step. Every year in your 20s, ask yourself, what skill can I build that increases my earning power? Not trendy skills, valuable skills. Here's something uncomfortable. Your environment matters more than your motivation. If all your friends are upgrading apartments, financing cars, and booking expensive trips every month, you'll feel weird not doing the same. Social pressure is expensive and subtle. When I started saving aggressively, I felt boring, like I was missing out. But here's what I realized. Discipline in your 20s buys freedom in your 30s. Short-term FOMO, long-term leverage. You don't need to isolate yourself. Just normalize delayed gratification. Find at least one friend who cares about growth, or follow people who talk about investing instead of consumption. Why it matters: wealth building is easier when it feels normal. Now let's address lifestyle inflation. This is the silent killer. You get a raise, you move to a better place, upgrade your car, upgrade your subscriptions, suddenly your income went up $15,000 and your savings didn't change. You feel richer, but you're not freer. Building $100,000 fast often means freezing your lifestyle for a few years while your income rises. It's temporary compression for long-term expansion. When I got my first significant raise, I kept living like I hadn't. Same apartment, same car. The gap between income and expenses widened. That gap became investments. Investments became momentum. Momentum became confidence. Action step. When you get a raise, automatically increase your savings rate before increasing your lifestyle. Celebrate, but strategically. Let's talk about investing, because saving $100,000 in cash isn't the goal. Growing it is. Your 20s are the perfect time to embrace volatility. You have decades ahead. Market dips are discounts, not disasters. Index funds, Roth IRA, 401k, simple, boring, diversified investing. Boring wins. People overcomplicate investing because it's not exciting. There's no flashy notification when your ETF quietly compounds. But here's the truth. Consistency beats genius. If you invest $2,000 per month at 8%, you're at $100,000 in roughly 4 years. Less if income grows. Compounding starts slow. Then it accelerates. Like pushing a boulder downhill. The first few feet are exhausting, then gravity takes over. Why it matters: investing turns effort into acceleration. Action step: automate investments, remove emotion from the equation. Now let's shift from numbers to psychology, because building $100,000 is less about math and more about identity. Do you see yourself as someone who builds wealth or someone who's bad with money? Identity drives behavior. When I stopped saying I'm just not good with finances and started saying I'm learning to build assets, my decisions changed. Small shifts: cooking more often, tracking spending, saying no occasionally. None of it dramatic, just consistent. And consistency compounds like money does. If you believe you're building something, you protect it. Action step: rewrite your financial identity. Literally, write it down. I am someone who builds assets. It sounds cheesy, it works. Let's talk about sacrifice, because yes, there will be some. Maybe you drive the older car longer. Maybe you live with roommates. Maybe you skip the luxury apartment with the rooftop pool. Temporary discomfort, permanent advantage. But here's the key. Don't sacrifice everything. Burnout kills momentum. Still travel. Still enjoy life. Just do it intentionally. Balance isn't 50-50. It's strategic. Here's the part no one tells you. The first $100,000 changes how you walk through the world. You feel sturdier, calmer, less desperate. Opportunities feel like choices instead of lifelines. You stop chasing every paycheck. You start thinking in years instead of weeks. That psychological shift is priceless, because once you hit $100,000, the second $100,000 often comes faster. Compounding plus confidence. That's a powerful mix. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm already 28 or 29, I'm behind. Relax. Comparison is noise. Start now. Even if you hit $100,000 at 32 instead of 27, that's still decades of growth ahead. The real waste isn't starting late, it's never starting. So let's zoom out. Your 20s are not for proving you can spend, they're for proving you can build. Every dollar invested now is a future employee working for you. Every skill learned increases your earning ceiling. Every disciplined decision stacks quietly in the background. You don't need perfection, you need direction. And honestly, building $100,000 fast isn't about obsession. It's about alignment. High savings rate, aggressive skill growth, controlled lifestyle inflation, consistent investing, identity shift. Do that for 5 focused years, and your life trajectory bends. That's the real magic. Let me leave you with this. At 25, $100,000 feels impossible. At 30, it feels life-changing. At 40, it feels small. Time reframes everything. The question isn't whether you can build it. The question is whether you'll decide to. Your 20s are leverage. Don't waste them drifting. Use them deliberately. Stack skills, stack assets, stack discipline. And one day, you'll open your investment account and see 6 figures staring back at you. Not because you got lucky, but because you chose not to waste your most powerful decade. Start now. Future you is watching.